What unfolds when a CEO swaps his corner office for a front desk, only to discover that his company is rejecting individuals based on their income? Wesley Lorman lingered in the corner of the break room, fiddling with the name tag that displayed the name Zach. His hair was clipped close, glasses perched on his nose, and his beard was neatly shaven. He bore no resemblance to the individual who had acquired the chain of urban walk-in clinics 8 years prior, and transformed it into a 16-location triumph, at least in theory. He had yet to encounter the frontline personnel at the majority of the clinics. The company had grown rapidly, and while he had explored a few sites in the beginning, he had transitioned to board meetings and quarterly updates. Yet in recent months, an unsettling feeling lingered. Patient satisfaction scores were declining at 2 clinics, particularly the one located on East Main. There were reports of unclear grievances, discourteous personnel, extended delays, and individuals being denied service. Yet, whenever he inquired with the clinic manager, her response was that it was exaggerated, and here he stood now. At this location, the CEO had never been encountered in person by anyone. The company was quite sizable, leading the majority of the clinic staff to believe that the corporate office was located in a different state. Wesley had seamlessly stepped in as a temporary receptionist via a hiring agency, with no warning signs in sight. The first day began with a serene stillness. He followed Carla, the dedicated receptionist, a perceptive woman in her 40s with a soothing voice and weary eyes. Phones, check-ins, insurance verifications. "Just follow my lead," she said, with a gentle tone. He nodded, remaining silent, keenly observing as the rhythm unfolded. At approximately 10 o'clock, a statuesque woman entered, guiding a small child by the hand. The child let out a harsh cough, and the woman's expression turned ashen with concern. "Greetings," she remarked. "We currently lack insurance, but I'm able to pay in cash. He has a fever and it seems to be escalating." Just as Wesley was about to speak, the clinic supervisor, Tina, emerged from the hallway. In her 50s, she sported a chic blonde bob and donned expensive shoes. "What seems to be the problem here?" she inquired, her brow already furrowing. Carla explained that she lacks insurance. "I can pay," the woman reiterated. "Please, he's unwell." Tina's eyes narrowed. "Madam, we are currently at full capacity today. We operate as a business, not a charitable organization. Consider visiting the urgent care facility in the downtown area or the county clinic for assistance." The woman fluttered her eyelids. "I strolled over to this place. That's more than an hour's journey." "For you should have come earlier," Tina remarked, pivoting sharply and striding away. Wesley remained motionless. Carla leaned in and murmured, "It occurs more often than you might realize." He observed the woman and her son depart, the little one, still in the throes of a cough. Carla let out a deep sigh, choosing to remain silent. At lunchtime, Wesley found himself seated outdoors with Carla. "Does that really happen often?" he inquired. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the sandwich before her. "If they lack insurance or appear, well, less fortunate." Tina discovers a justification to declare that we are at capacity. She places great importance on maintaining the clarity of the figures. "Isn't that against policy?" Carla shot him a glance. "Certainly, but we consistently find ourselves understaffed, and she claims she's safeguarding us from becoming overloaded. We're short-staffed. Last month, 2 medical assistants left, along with a nurse, all due to burnout. Tina is not approving overtime, which leaves us stretched thin, and she's leveraging that to decide who gets to come in." Wesley sensed a constriction in his chest, and no one speaks up. Some attempted to address it, ended up with fewer hours or worse shifts. She handles it with a certain finesse. He was unable to utter a word. He remained seated, gnawing on old vending machine crackers, experiencing a sense of alienation in the very company he had built. Later that day, a man in his 60s entered, dressed in a worn jacket, gripping his abdomen. "How may we assist you, sir?" Carla inquired. "I believe it might be my gallbladder," he murmured, beads of sweat forming on his brow. "It really hurts. I don't have insurance, but I do have some funds available." Carla cast her gaze toward him, then shifted her attention to Tina, who had just re-entered the lobby. "Full," Tina stated, interrupting them before they could. even complete verifying his name. We have reached capacity. Head to the emergency room. He just walked in, Wesley remarked thoughtfully. We still have available slots. Tina's gaze fixed on him. You're new here. You have no idea what we're capable of. I can see the board. There are 3 open appointment slots, Wesley replied with calm precision, while Tina's tone grew cold. Are you doubting my words? I believe that someone earning $15 an hour shouldn't be questioning my choices. Wesley sensed a surge of anger welling up within him, yet he stifled it resolutely. He acknowledged with a soft voice, then departed, clutching his side in agony. That evening, Wesley found himself in his car parked in the back lot, gazing intently at the clinic through the windshield. He had created this company with the intention of assisting others. Individuals appreciate that lady and her child who is coughing. The man is suffering. And at some point he had allowed individuals like Tina to manage it as if it were an exclusive club. Tomorrow he would continue his duties at the desk. He craved a deeper understanding, a glimpse into the depths of it all, yet one truth stood out. He was no longer a mere observer. He had come to make a change. The second day commenced sooner than anticipated. Wesley showed up just before 7, well ahead of the clinic's opening for patients. The front lobby was shrouded in dim light, the overhead fixtures emitting a soft humming sound as he slipped inside, keycard in hand, a gift from Carla just the day prior. She had not arrived yet. He seized the moment of tranquility to access the front desk system. He had committed the EHR interface to memory during his days of personally reviewing operations, but now it seemed unfamiliar, overwhelmed by updates and shortcuts that were no longer recognizable to him. He accessed the appointment roster. There are 28 scheduled visits, with 8 pending insurance verification and 5 open slots available. The no-show rate at this location exceeded expectations, rendering the strict cut-offs he had observed the previous day even more difficult to rationalize. He shut the screen as he detected the sound of Carla's key turning in the lock. Her expression was one of astonishment as she found him already seated at the desk. I didn't expect you to be up this early, she remarked, placing her thermos on the table. He expressed a desire to stay ahead of today's agenda. Seems quite complete. She gave a slight nod and slowly unzipped her jacket. Tuesdays often have a way of revealing their true nature. Just wait and see. By 8, a sense of patience started to seep in. Most were familiar faces, everyday people who understood the cadence of the environment and didn't anticipate any warmth. Carla managed them swiftly. Wesley collaborated with her, meticulously checking IDs, confirming contact details, and verifying insurance plans. He recorded the number of plans that offered public assistance or minimal coverage. Over 50% at E920, a young girl entered with her little brother. She seemed hardly 18, perhaps even younger, while the boy appeared to be around 10, his arm secured in a makeshift sling crafted from a scarf. The girl spoke, her voice trembling with anxiety. We need to see someone. He stumbled at school. We were instructed to arrive at this location. Wesley looked over the schedule, noting the 5-minute interval before the next patient arrived. He gazed at Carla, who responded with a subtle nod. All right, we'll take care of your check-in. Could you please provide your ID and insurance information? I have my school ID, the girl said, pulling it out from her backpack. Without coverage, we don't possess that, but I do have funds available. Several. Just as Wesley was about to type, Tina swept in through the side hallway, clipboard in hand, engaged in conversation with someone trailing behind her. She paused as her gaze fell upon the girl and boy seated at the desk. What is this? She inquired. Wesley pivoted. They entered the room. It's possible he has sustained a fracture. Tina moved in, her gaze fixed on the boy's sling. We are not an emergency room. If it's a fracture, imaging is necessary. That's not something we engage in here. The girl remarked that he had stumbled on a step. It was suggested that it could merely be a sprain. We're full, Tina said, her eyes fixed elsewhere, ignoring the schedule entirely. We simply cannot afford to spend time on walk-ins lacking insurance. Consider visiting the urgent care located on 5th. Wesley straightened his posture. There's an available slot in exam room 3 in just 10 minutes. Dr. Choi has an opening following his next patient. Tina's gaze sharpened. This clinic is not under your control. You are a temporary worker. Carla halted abruptly, her fingers suspended above the keyboard. I'm aware, Wesley replied calmly, but our purpose is to assist others. A young girl is bringing her injured brother. It's time to create some space. Tina's voice lowered. It is not your place to determine who is acknowledged. I certainly do. I've made the decision that we will not be serving individuals who enter without a payment plan in place. The boy recoiled at her tone. Wesley glanced over at Carla. Kindly ensure they are checked in. I will personally escort them to the room. Tina positioned herself before him. Your time here is complete. No, he replied. She blinked, realizing the truth of the statement. Excuse me. He did not elevate his tone. I've had my fill. It's time to gather your belongings. Your employment with us has come to an end. For a brief moment, silence enveloped the room. Carla rose to her feet with deliberate slowness. Excuse me, what did you say? Wesley declared himself the owner. I am Wesley Lorman, the CEO. I've been operating in this role incognito. Tina gazed at him, her complexion ashen. You are not being truthful. I am not. This company was founded by me 8 years ago. I have thoroughly examined each policy that you've overlooked. You have infringed upon patient rights, engaged in income-based discrimination, and fostered an atmosphere of fear. Your employment here has come to an end. She appeared ready to contest, yet her demeanor changed in an instant. With clipboard in hand, she exited silently, leaving no further remarks behind. It was only after the door clicked shut behind her that Carla finally let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. What just occurred? Wesley glanced over at the girl and her brother. Let's have him examined. He guided them to the rear and signaled Dr. Choi amidst the rooms. The doctor, a gentle-voiced individual in his 40s, consented to fit them into his schedule. Wesley lingered close by as the exam commenced, only stepping away when Carla drew near. I had no idea, she said softly. I had a feeling there was something unusual about you. You paid too much attention. I ought to have arrived here much earlier, he remarked. She gazed beyond him, her eyes drifting toward the hallway. Tina has exhibited that behavior for many years now. She was particularly harsh with the younger staff, constantly observing and correcting their every move. Individuals discovered the importance of restraint. Who else witnessed the unfolding events? The majority of the administrative tasks. Nurses. Communicate. Yet no one is eager to sacrifice hours. You confront her, your changes vanish, Wesley agreed. Today marks the conclusion of that. In the following hour, he engaged with the clinical staff individually, keeping it brief and to the point. Simply straightforward inquiries. What's effective? What is not? What is it that you require? Recurring themes emerged: understaffing, fear of retaliation, and a lack of transparency. No one felt secure enough to voice their thoughts. But when they understood his true identity, everything changed. By noon, Wesley had gathered the regional management team for a conference call. He methodically detailed the specific violations he had observed, unreported patient rejections, and instances of abusive supervision. He directed HR to initiate a comprehensive review of staffing practices across all clinics, commencing with East Main. A new interim manager was appointed from a different location, a trusted individual whom he had personally guided and mentored. In a serene pause between patients, Carla inquired, "Are you heading back to your office now?" Wesley gave a slight shake of his head. "Not at this moment. I will remain here for the entire week. There's much to mend." She offered a faint smile. "A more satisfying lunch than vending machine crackers is essential. I was really looking forward to hearing that." 20 minutes later, they found themselves in the break room, enjoying sandwiches sourced from the nearby bodega. Wesley absorbed more than he expressed. Carla shared stories of the nurse who lingered after hours without pay, the technician who wept in her vehicle following each shift, and the patients who ceased their visits due to a lack of warmth and acceptance. He diligently recorded his thoughts, genuine notes, not merely for appearances. That afternoon he positioned himself by the door as a new patient entered, a mother accompanied by her 3 children. With no insurance and a hint of uncertainty in his gaze, Wesley offered a smile and took a step forward. "Greetings, we will look after you." By Thursday morning, Wesley had already internalized the pulse of the clinic. When the phones rang off the hook, when the exam rooms turned over at their quickest pace, and when the nurses stole their brief moments of respite in the back corridor just outside the lab. The staff, initially wary, had become accustomed to his presence under his true identity. He continued to man the desk, but now with a sense of authenticity. He refrained from delivering speeches or conducting theatrical gatherings. Instead, he created an environment that encouraged people to express themselves, observing the dynamics that unfolded when they felt unobserved and unjudged. That was the moment he became aware of Jordan. Jordan, a 27-year-old medical assistant, had made the move to East Main just 6 weeks prior. He stood tall and precise, navigating swiftly between stations, seldom engaging in small talk. Wesley had scarcely shared more than a handful of words with him until that fateful morning when he caught a snippet of conversation through the exam room doors. "She won't be taking him," Jordan stated, his tone steady yet resolute. "She must," another man responded, his tone tinged with impatience. Wesley rounded the corner just as he spotted Jordan in the hallway, positioned to prevent another M.A., Cole, from pushing a woman and her son toward the exit. Cole remarked to Jordan that she lacked identification, oblivious to Wesley's presence at that moment. "It's a matter of policy. She possesses her son's Medicaid card along with a letter from the school. That suffices to confirm residency. She is not proficient in English. How can we understand her when she requested a Spanish interpreter? You mentioned that no one was available." "There is not." Wesley advanced with purpose. "In fact, I communicate in Spanish." Cole recoiled, confusion etched on his face. "Oh, well, it's just a little mix-up, Mr. Lorman, elucidated regardless." Cole paused, then motioned toward the woman in her 30s, who stood a few feet away with her son clinging to her leg. Her gaze flitted back and forth between them. Cole remarked that she entered without the necessary identification. "We are unable to confirm her identity," Jordan interrupted, stating that she possesses her son's state insurance card and a current school enrollment letter that includes her address. "Cole," Wesley remarked. Cole shifted, questioning why that wouldn't suffice. "I suppose I had my doubts about its authenticity, wondering if it could be a fabrication. What is the reason? How can we truly be certain?" Wesley's jaw clenched. "We confirm it just as we would for anyone else, and if there's any uncertainty, we seek assistance rather than making assumptions. Ideally, without jumping to conclusions." Cole remained silent. Wesley glanced at the woman and changed his language. "Señora, lamento la situación. Estamos aquí para asistirle de inmediato." She nodded with a hint of hesitation, glancing back at Jordan as Wesley expressed his gratitude for her intervention. "Could you guide them back to room 5? Jordan nodded, and as he walked past Wesley, he whispered softly, "This isn't the first time." Wesley observed their figures fade into the shadows of the back, then shifted his attention to Cole. "Please log out of the system and take a seat in the break room," he instructed. "Please refrain from engaging with any additional patients for the remainder of the day." "Hold on. I was merely attempting to adhere to the established guidelines." "Absolutely not. You were judging individuals by their appearance and manner of speaking. That's not how we operate. It's prejudice," and Cole's face flushed with embarrassment. "I didn't intend anything by it. I'm not focused on intentions. My focus is on actions. That's not something we engage in here, not any longer." Wesley strode past him in silence, promptly notifying HR to initiate the termination process without delay. Later that afternoon, Wesley invited Jordan to come to the office that Tina once occupied. The door stood ajar. "So you've been at 3 different places, haven't you?" Jordan acknowledged with a nod. "Initially began in Rivergate, then moved to Midtown, and arrived here due to a request for assistance. You've encountered this sort of situation previously, though not always so clearly," Jordan remarked, leaning forward in his chair. "Indeed, at times it can be quite understated. Individuals who appear to be without a home are informed that we have no availability. Individuals with non-native surnames face additional inquiries. It remains unrecorded, yet it occurs." What was the reason for not reporting it? Jordan met his gaze head-on. To whom? The previous individual who raised concerns about staffing saw a reduction in their hours. Another MA was rescheduled to weekends after addressing a nurse for neglecting to take vitals. Do you really think anyone thought they were escaping punishment? Wesley gave a slow nod. Text, I trust you, Jordan said, tilting his head. What is the reason behind this action? On Monday you might have strolled in here with a clipboard and a prepared speech. However, that was not the case. Before I began to make any changes, I needed to uncover the truth. Jordan stood there. At that moment it came into view. That evening, Wesley lingered after the doors had shut. Carla was wrapping up a pile of intake forms. The lobby was shrouded in darkness, illuminated only by the soft glow of the front desk monitors casting light. In their corner of the clinic. Are you intending to continue using this desk? She inquired. I intend to remain until the new managers have completely established themselves and the staff has regained confidence in the structure. Her gaze fell upon him. We are currently lacking 2 nurses and a technician. This morning, I gave the green light for a signing bonus for both positions. The recruitment process has already begun. Carla offered a silent nod, her expression unchanged. What about the grievances that went unnoticed? A member of the compliance team has been tasked with reviewing each flagged incident from the past year. Any patterns or acts of retaliation will be addressed accordingly. She hesitated. You're truly making it happen. I ought to have taken action earlier. The following morning, Wesley showed up bright and early once more. Prior to the arrival of the first patient, he gathered everyone for a quick meeting in the break room. No formal statements, just a handful of thoughts. Many of you have witnessed occurrences here that are unacceptable in a healthcare environment. That stops here. If you have any concerns, please feel free to share them with me or reach out to compliance. There will be no consequences for voicing your thoughts. Your voice will resonate. There was no applause, no sweeping score to heighten the moment, only a handful of nods and a few silent exchanges of glances. In room 4, a mother gently held her baby, patiently awaiting a checkup. In room 2, a man who had shunned care for months out of fear of rejection sat with a referral slip clutched in his hand. Both would be observed today promptly, free from any judgment. As the initial patient neared the desk, Wesley positioned himself next to Carla, prepared for what was to come. This time everyone would be welcomed. By Friday morning, the atmosphere within the East Main Clinic had transformed. It lacked theatrics, yet it was evident. Disagreements were no longer hushed. Voices rose openly against decisions. Some glanced back nervously, yet fewer recoiled as Wesley passed by. Confidence had not been fully regained, yet the apprehension had begun to fracture. Wesley made his entrance just after 6, taking it upon himself to unlock the front door. Carla had arrived ahead of him, clipboard in hand, with a neatly arranged stack of registration sheets categorized by language preference. She acknowledged him with a brief nod, lacking any humor or warmth before returning to her preparations. The week had worn on everyone a bit. At 7:50, the first patient entered, a middle-aged man sporting a knee brace and carrying a well-worn satchel. He spoke with a slow, deliberate drawl, expressed his regrets for arriving ahead of time, and inquired if he might wait indoors. Carla motioned toward a chair. Everyone welcomed him. Wesley assumed control of the front desk as Carla assessed the morning's supply delivery. At approximately 10, Jada, a relatively new nurse who had hardly uttered a word all week, gently tapped on the counter. I need to speak with you, she said, her gaze darting down the hallway behind her. He trailed her into the cramped side corridor adjacent to the storage closet. Her words flowed softly, yet there was no doubt in her voice. There seems to be something happening with Cole's friend, the individual from Central Ave. There's been a familiar figure loitering near the back entrance, making 2 appearances this week alone. Initially, I believed he had vanished, yet today he reappeared, lingering behind the dumpster with a cigarette in hand. Upon my inquiry about whether he required assistance, he simply turned and left. Wesley scowled. Was he attempting to gain entry? No, I was merely observing, yet he acknowledged my presence, made a remark along the lines of, "I see you're still around," then walked away. Have you ever spotted him in the clinic before? Indeed, he would deliver documents for Cole. It seems he might have been a vendor representative or something along those lines, yet he always had an odd demeanor about it, never bothering to sign in. Wesley acknowledged with a nod. I appreciate you sharing that with me. If you happen to encounter him again, please refrain from approaching him and promptly alert security. She inclined her head ever so slightly. He didn't come across as menacing, merely unsettling, as if he possessed some hidden knowledge. Wesley remained silent. He made his way back to the front, reviewed the security camera logs, and reached out to the regional director to verify the man's identity. It aligned with a previous contractor who had been prohibited from another location due to unacceptable conduct towards employees. Wesley requested that his access be marked across all locations. By noon, the line for appointments had grown considerably. One of the nurse practitioners had reported sick, leaving the remaining staff struggling to maintain their pace. Wesley rose from his seat and ventured into the corridor beyond exam room 6, where the atmosphere was thickening once more. The door to the room stood ajar. Within the room, a patient in a wheelchair appeared uneasy as a medical assistant named Rachel struggled with his intake history. "Apologies, sir," she stated, "but I cannot find a verified insurance plan in our records. It seems we may need to find a new time for our meeting." The man's voice carried a husky, strained quality. "I traveled across town on 2 buses. They assured me it was acceptable. I received approval from the state program." Rachel appeared quite flustered. "It isn't appearing on my display. I'm simply attempting to keep up." Wesley entered the room. "Rachel, I've got this now." She appeared to exhale a breath of relief as she passed him the tablet. He examined the document. "This is a notification of pre-approval from the regional caseworker. That provides adequate coverage. Will ensure he remains on the schedule." Rachel paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. "I believed we needed to wait for complete verification. We do not. This program is not suitable. Rest assured, I will ensure that everyone receives an update on the new protocols." She acknowledged with a nod and departed. After ensuring the patient was comfortable and the consultation continued, Wesley made his way back to the communal workstation adjacent to the lab. He discovered Rachel meticulously arranging specimen labels, her hands trembling ever so slightly. "So you're just getting acquainted with this place, huh?" he inquired. "Moved from the West End clinic last month. Have you received training on verifying state coverage?" "Somewhat. The former manager advised that we should refrain from accepting them unless reimbursement was assured. Claimed it wasn't worth the hassle of documentation. That does not align with our policy. If you find yourself uncertain in the future, feel free to reach out to me or the clinical lead. Only refuse anyone if you are completely sure they do not qualify." She gave a swift nod. "I understand it wasn't intentional. However, I require your certainty next time." On that afternoon, the newly appointed interim clinic manager made their entrance. Her name was Lee, and she had previously managed the Rivergate location during its transformation the year before. With quiet confidence, she approached the staff, armed only with a clipboard, a gentle tone and a thoughtful strategy for rotating breaks to prevent burnout. She failed to bring muffins or balloons. She presented scheduling grids along with a compilation of overdue approvals. Later that day, Wesley discreetly led Carla to a quiet corner of the break room. "Lee will assume control on Monday. I will take a step back once she is comfortable." Carla rested her weight against the counter. "She has your trust. She is the reason Rivergate has stopped the monthly exodus of nurses. She pays attention, yet she doesn't overlook anything." Carla gave a single nod. That will be essential for her. As the afternoon progressed, Wesley took the opportunity to meet one-on-one with each of the remaining staff members. He refrained from requesting them to extend their hours or complete any surveys. He engaged with each of them individually in the aged triage room, inquiring about what they required to enhance their work performance. Some requested fundamental items, such as updated thermometers and improved chairs at the intake desk. Some requested additional time for patients requiring Translation assistance. Several have simply requested the opportunity to express themselves without being overlooked. He assured that everything would be taken care of, not resolved instantly, but acknowledged, monitored, and pursued. At 5:30, the final patient was sent home. The clinic exuded a serene stillness, with the lights softly dimmed and chairs neatly piled beside the janitor's cart. Wesley positioned himself at the forefront, observing intently as Carla entered the last lock code. "It seems unlike any other Monday," she remarked, her gaze fixed elsewhere. "It feels distinct," she glanced at him. "Do you believe the other clinics will also undergo changes? The ones that didn't receive this type of visit? They certainly will. I have decided to stop sending reports. I am dispatching individuals." She arched an eyebrow. "We are assembling a compact audit team that will engage directly with the process. They will visit various locations each month, observe the handling of intake, and immerse themselves in the environment, rather than just analyzing numbers from afar." Carla folded her arms across her chest. "You're truly going through with this. I ought to have taken action on this long ago." As she departed for the evening, Wesley lingered in the shadows. He traversed the clinic, moving from room to room, until he arrived at the back hallway where Jordan had halted cold days prior. The corridor lay silent and deserted. The reverberations had subsided. He reflected on each individual who had been dismissed due to a fever, a limp, or a child cradled in their arms. Reflections on those who would remain absent forever. He was unable to alter the events that had transpired, yet he could ensure it would never occur again. He secured the door, extinguished the lights, and stepped outside.